we're gonna work sort of the lateral side of the body, although a couple of the things that we're gonna do might not feel like they're just the side, but I kind of like this. Some of it feels a little different because we're not used to kind of thinking about the side of the body in this way, but hopefully it feels good. And once we start doing the poses, you can see what it feels like after doing some of the myofascial release. So I always like to say this just because some of you guys are regular and some of you aren't so regular. No pain when you're using the myofascial release balls. So if you have pain, please don't do it. You might have tenderness, and you have to differentiate between pain and tenderness, but please always err on the side of caution and think less is more. So instead of like, I really have to dig in there and get everything, maybe back off a little bit today and be kind, and maybe you go at medium or light pressure instead of really trying to dig in, which most of these places you can't really go too deep anyway. So, but anyway, I just feel like I have to say it. The other thing is you can always put a blanket over the balls to soften them a little bit if they're feeling intense, or you can replace the balls with a blanket. I think there's probably only one thing today where I'll try and remind you of that. So we'll go ahead and start seated. I'm just gonna scooch back so you can see me. Just find a comfortable seat. Maybe you're sitting elevated on a blanket or a block. And then just close your eyes and check in, see how you're feeling this morning. I was gonna say first thing this morning, but maybe some of you have been up for a while, I don't know. And just as you sit here, see how the breath feels as you start to take your inhales and exhales. So specifically bring attention to the rib cage. And just feel that gentle expansion on the inhale without forcing anything to happen. And that soft contraction on the exhale. And as you keep your focus there, just notice where you feel movement. Is it the front of the ribs, the back of the ribs, the side of the ribs? For me, it's usually more the front, but as I bring more focus, I can feel that three-dimensional expansion, front to back, side to side, even top to bottom. Just notice if the breath and that movement of the rib cage feels easy or if it feels a little tense. And just notice if the quality or the texture of the breath has changed just with a minute or two of focus on the breath. On your next inhale, just breathe in through the nose. And exhale softly out of the mouth, let it go. And then draw the chin down to the chest. Take the right ear to the right shoulder and just pause. Just notice how the left side of the neck feels, even all the way down to the outside of the left shoulder. And then if you'd like, you can take your right fingertips and very gently just touch your left temple with your right fingertips. So you're not trying to move the head at all, just applying this really light touch with the fingertips. Just notice if the sensation in the neck changes. And just return that hand to the lap, take the chin to the chest, roll the left ear to the left shoulder, and just pause. And then if you'd like, left fingertips, just gently touch the right temple. And as you hold here, maybe come back to that movement of the breath and notice what that feels like with your head in the shape. And then return the hand back to the lap, take the chin to the chest, lift the head up to neutral, and just take some shoulder rolls up and back. And then take them the opposite way. And let's just change the cross of the legs. So take the opposite shin in front, and take a gentle twist over to the right. So right fingertips behind you, left hand can come to the outside of the thigh. And as you hold the twist, bring your attention back to the breath and the rib cage. Notice where you feel that movement with your body in this shape. And then unwind that, just make your way over to the other side, twist to the left. And then unwind the torso, bring the arms up by the ears. Take the right palm to the mat and take a side bend. Reach through the left fingertips. Just feel how the left side of the body feels from fingertips down to sit bone. And then if you'd like, you can just gently bend that left elbow and let that arm gently drape over the top of the head. Just notice if that changes, what that feels like. And then come through center, reach both arms up and take your left palm down, side bend. Maybe bend that top elbow, let that arm just gently drape. And then come back up, just reach both arms by the ears, and then press the palms together, lower the hands down to the heart, close the eyes for just a breath. And you can just release your hands down and open your eyes. We'll start with the myofascial release with both of your balls in their bag. So if they're not there, you might want to put them in there. If you don't have a bag, you can do it without. You just have to be a little more cautious because the balls want to get away from you. So from there, you'll just take one block on the lowest setting, and then we're going to set the balls on the block. So I'll just bring it closer to you so you can see. So low setting, balls are going to rest on the block like that. And then we're going to lean back and take right below the base of the skull to the balls. So right about your hairline here. You can kind of see this little divots on the neck. Those balls are gonna rest right there. So once you have balls on the block, you're gonna lay back and see if you can place those balls again right beneath the base of the skull. So you can move around and see where you feel that space where you can just let the head and the neck relax. It might take a little bit of adjusting. If for some reason this is not feeling good for you, feel free to just lay with your head on the mat or maybe with a pillow underneath it, a blanket underneath it as a pillow. And then once you've landed wherever you've picked, just take a couple breaths. See if you can use the exhales to relax the face and the jaw and the neck. And then you might just like to stay still here. This might feel nice. Or if you'd like, just starting to take a really, really gentle nod of the head, yes. So you can just lift the nose just very slightly and then bring it back through neutral and dip the nose a little bit. Just a really small nod, yes, of the head. Just a little bit of movement. For me, it's so subtle, you might not even be able to tell I'm moving. I'm just starting to get a gentle rock of those balls and that soft tissue. Remember, less is more, so don't worry about extreme sensation or extreme movement. And then just return to stillness here. Let the head and the neck relax again. And then if you'd like, you can start to gently turn your head to a no. So take your nose over to the right. You can keep weight on both balls. So again, maybe it's like an inch or two of the nose moving to the right, and then bring it through center and take it to the left. And you can start to take that side to side at your own pace. If it feels good to keep the nose over to the right for a breath or two, and then change it to the other side and hold, feel free to do that. Notice as you take that movement, do you feel any little knots or interesting textures as you move? It gives you a little bit of information about your body. Maybe the sides feel different. And then you have a couple more breaths if you're still moving. And then once it feels good, come back to stillness in that neutral position. We'll all meet there. And then just very gently remove your props so you can just land flat on your back on your mat. And if you like to have a little blanket under the head there, you can just take that so you have a little support. You're not going to be here for too long, but just let everything settle and feel back in this neutral position. And carefully roll off to one side, just so you can make your way up to seated. Just come back to a comfortable cross-legged position. Some of you guys have done this with me before. We're going to use the thumb to do a little bit of massage between each rib. So it doesn't matter which side you start on. I'm not going to look like I'm mirroring you. I'm going to start with my right thumb. And you can just feel around on your right side or whichever side you pick and see if you can find your lowest rib. And don't worry about feeling perfect. If you're not used to this, you might be like, I'm not sure exactly where it is. But if you find the lowest rib, just go beneath it, so lower towards your mat. And then just press gently in towards the midline of your body. Again, it can be just like a medium pressure. And then back towards the back of the mat. So you're pressing in and back. And then maybe if you like, you take a lateral bend away from whatever side you're working on and then come back. So just stay in that spot. Take a couple side bends if you like. You're still pressing in and back just lightly. And then we're gonna make our way up the rib cage here. So moving up between the lowest rib and the one right above it. And again, you might not know exactly where each rib is, that's okay. But move up, find that soft spot, press in and back, and then maybe take a lateral bend or two. So we're gonna make our way up. So we're not gonna stay in one spot for very long unless you just find a spot that really feels like you'd like to stay. And then just continue to work your way up between the ribs. When you get to your sports bra, you might find your band's in the way a little bit. I find that mine is. I can't really get to that one spot as well. Just make your way up slowly, noticing as you do this, are there places that feel more tender or more sticky? These aren't muscles that we think about very much, right? Like we think of our biceps and our quadriceps, the big movers of the body, but these intercostal muscles help with the rib cage expansion, with breath, which is really important. We're gonna make our way up to sort of the armpit area, and you might be like, wow, my ribs go all the way up there. And then if you make it there and you wanna keep going, you can just move back down. Just have a little bit more time here to explore. I find when I get to my armpits, pretty tender. I think for a lot of people it is. And I know your hand might start to get a little tired, especially if you're not used to this. That's where medium pressure is better than too much pressure. All right, and then just come to seated, shake that out, take your arms or your wrists out, maybe take some circles, and then let your hands rest down on your knees and close your eyes. And just take a couple of breaths in and out through the nose, bringing awareness to the rib cage again, like we did in the beginning. And notice how the side you just worked feels compared to the side you haven't done yet. Maybe it feels more spacious or more warm, or like there's more blood flow, or maybe it doesn't feel that way. No right or wrong way to feel. Noticing is just helpful. And then we'll come to the other side. So starting below that lowest rib, pressing in towards the midline and back. And maybe take a couple of side bends on that first round just to get used to it on this side. And then on your own, starting to make your way up between each rib. And as you work this side, you may notice that it feels different than the first side, or different spots feel different, or maybe it feels pretty similar as you work your way up. I remember the first time I ever did this, I thought it was sort of strange, but then I thought it felt kind of nice. Once I realized how the movement of my ribs when I breathed felt really different, I realized this can be kind of powerful. You have about 3 more breaths on this side. Remember, if your hand's getting tired, you can take a little break, or maybe you just don't press as hard with that thumb. And then maybe release that, circle the wrist, or maybe open and close fist, just whatever feels good to get some movement in your hands. And then rest the hands on the knees, sit up nice and tall, close the eyes, and take a couple more breaths, bringing your attention back to the rib cage. Maybe even notice if there are changes in the way the rib cage feels. Maybe you feel differences in the neck, above the ribs, or down towards the hips, below the ribs. You can open your eyes. We're only gonna do one thing on our belly today. And I know for some of you, using the balls when you're on your belly just feels too intense. So you can take a rolled up blanket and use that as a substitute for the balls. We're just gonna find the place here first where we're gonna take the balls. So come a little closer. So you're gonna find your sternum and see if you can find the lowest part of your sternum. And you don't have to be too particular about that, but once you find that, find your lower part of your rib cage and notice how it's gonna kind of dome down here. You're gonna try and find that lowest part of the rib cage. And I like to think of my torso as 2 panels, and it's kind of the middle of each side panel. The balls are gonna go kind of to that spot where the lowest ribs are, but you're gonna be beneath the ribs. So you don't wanna be on the bones of the ribs. You're gonna be beneath the ribs about 1 inch or 2 on the belly. So now that you kind of have a frame of reference, remember you can just roll up a blanket and put it kind of on the belly if that feels better for you. If you want to try the balls, make your way onto your belly. And this is kind of tricky to find once you get there. So just take your time. You can take the ball into the right hand and find that lowest part of the rib cage on the right side. Make sure the ball is like 1 inch or 2 below the ribs, so you're not on the ribs. And then take the left ball to that same place. And you don't have to worry about perfection here. You can be to the side a little bit. Just make sure you're not on the ribs. That's the one thing. And then other than that, you're pretty good. So if you want, you can stack the hands, rest the forehead on the hands. Just pause there, take a couple of breaths and see what that feels like. That's probably the least intense position of the body. I know having the balls here can feel a little uncomfortable if you're not used to it. So see if you can use your exhales to just let the belly soften. And if you can let the muscles soften instead of resisting, you probably can find a little more comfort here. And you're welcome to stay right where you are with your head resting on your hands. If you'd like to try it, you can bring your arms into a Sphinx position. So coming onto the forearms with the elbows under the shoulders. I think that's a little more intense. So if you get there and you feel like you just can't breathe, it takes the breath away, just lay back flat. Wherever you are, take an inhale. See if you can just expand the belly into the balls. And on the exhale, let the belly soften. Inhale, see if you can expand out. Exhale, soften. Inhale, expand out. And exhale, soften. You have a couple more breaths right here. Remember, you're in control. If you need to remove a prop, feel free to do it. And carefully just remove your balls and lay flat on your belly. So maybe you're resting the forehead on the hands again. Take a breath or two here. Again, just noticing where you feel breath. I know it's going to feel different when you're on your belly. If it feels good, you can bend the knees and windshield wiper the feet side to side. And then re-extend the legs. Take the hands by the sides of the rib cage. Press to tabletop. Just take some cat-cow here. We're gonna do 2 more things with the balls, but before we do that, just take a couple rounds of cat-cow. Just get the spine moving a little bit. As you do this, maybe you notice the sides of the rib cage where you use the thumb to do a little bit of massage. And after your next exhale, you can just come to seated. We're going to work the outer part of the leg here. So we'll do the right side first, and then we'll do the left side. We're gonna work the thigh, the upper leg, and then the lower leg. So we'll be like in a Sukhasana position here. Hard for you guys to see me. Now, if your knees are kind of high and they're far away from the floor, you may want to put a block or a blanket underneath you so you have a place to put the ball and you can get some pressure on it. And then we'll start towards the knee on the upper thigh, and I wore black pants again today, so that's not helpful. But working sort of this top part of the lateral thigh. And you don't have to be perfect on this. I know I keep saying that, but you can just start right above the knee on the lateral thigh. And I'm going to put the ball on a block because I think that feels nice to have it elevated a little bit. And this is one where when you put the leg down, you probably don't feel a huge amount of sensation. So that's okay. Don't think you're doing it wrong. I like to just take my elbow and lean into it. So the ball's underneath my right knee. I don't know if I'm mirroring you here. And you can lean in and out a couple times just to see if you can find a good amount of pressure. And you can move the ball around too to find a place that feels good. And then once you find a place that feels like you like to land, remember, you might have medium or even light pressure on this one. This one for me isn't huge sensation, but I do notice a nice difference after I do it. So just take a couple of breaths here. I personally like using the foam roller on this one, but I know not everyone has a foam roller. So for class purposes, we're using the balls. And then you can stick with that area and just hold it there, or maybe you start to move up the thigh towards the hip a little bit. So maybe you're a third of the way up the thigh. And again, you can kind of lean in and out and find this spot and land and hold. I always love this because if your families walked in, they would all think, what are you doing? All right, and then you can stay there. We'll do one more here on this upper leg. So again, you can roll up or you can find a spot that feels good, or maybe you just stay right where you are and then lean in and hold. Oof, I just found a spot I don't think I can work with. That's too much. So if it's too much, you can always go kind of around the spot, up or down or side to side. Remember, if it takes your breath away, it's probably not the place you want to land. All right, and then come out of that, just extend your legs out in front of you and take your toes and rock them side to side. And just notice how the thighs feel. That feels interesting. And then we're gonna make our way down to the lower leg. We'll stay on the same side, whatever side you did first. Let me bring my camera down here. So now you can bring that same shin just out in front of you. So you can just use your fingers here to kind of feel first. So feel your shin in the center here, and then you're gonna go lateral to the shin and find just that soft tissue on the outside of the lower leg. And we're gonna kind of be searching for that. The leg's gonna be in the same position as it was for the thigh. So you can take that block again if you need it and go right lateral to the shin below the knee and rest that area on the ball. And if you're not right up next to the shin, you can be further back and you can be a little more into the meaty part of the calf there if that feels better. Same thing that we did on the thigh, just lean in and out. And this is one that I always think is interesting because it's not a place we give a lot of attention to. Adrienne probably knows because she does body work. But for me, it's kind of a sensitive muscle. So lean in and hold. If you can use the exhales to just soften, see if you're holding tension any place around the ball. And then you can stay there. We're just gonna do one more spot on the lower leg. So I was closer to the knee to start. I'm just gonna roll down a little bit. So I'm like a third of the way down my lower leg. But again, you can kind of explore and see where it feels best for you to put that ball. And then once you find a place to work with, lean in and hold. And then just make your way off of that. Extend your legs out in front of you. Just take the toes, rock them side to side like we did earlier, and just feel that whole leg. Maybe point and flex the feet. Notice how that feels. Maybe even circle the ankles. Ooh, that feels interesting, I think. Circle the other way. And then we'll change sides. Last thing before we get moving. So you'll just do the opposite thighs and move the block if you have it. Again, starting on the outer thigh above the knee. And once you find it, lean in and out. It's interesting, I'm right-handed, now I'm doing my left side, and this side feels more awkward for me just to kind of get in and out of, so maybe you experience that when you do some of the side to side. Once you lean in, find the medium pressure and hold. Some of them, it's just finding a good angle. And then just lean out of that. Remember, we're gonna do 2 more spots here on the thigh. So maybe you're just moving up towards the hip a little bit, finding a spot, leaning out, in and out a couple of times. And as you do that, you can move that ball around if you need to find a place you wanna work with. And then once you find it, lean in and hold. This nice soft breath. And then last spot in the upper leg here. So maybe rolling up just a little bit higher or just moving that ball around to see where you'd like to be. Maybe you just hold where you just were and then lean in and hold. And actually that feels nice. I have my opposite hand on my foot, which actually gives me sort of this nice connection between both parts of the lower leg, which feels nice. Sometimes exploring with the position of the hands or the torso can be interesting. And then come out of that, extend the legs out in front of you, give the toes that little rock. And then we'll move to the lower leg. Remember, we'll do 2 spots. So if you want, you can use your fingers to find the shin and then just go lateral to the shin and find that soft tissue beneath the knee. And then place that ball there and you can place it on the block. And then maybe starting to lean in and out. And then once you find a spot, lean in and hold. And maybe one side feels really different. Noticing my right side felt really different. And then we'll just do one more spot. So maybe you're rolling down the lower leg. I'm about 1/3 of the way down, still lateral to the shin bone. And then maybe rocking in and out. And then finding a place to land. Most of these things we're doing today aren't necessarily like this, oh, it feels amazing. But I think they're interesting to explore too. All right, come out of that. You can take your balls off to the side. Just extend your legs out in front of you one last time. Wiggle the toes or maybe circle the ankles a little bit. Make your way up into tabletop. Once you're in tabletop, just wiggle your hips side to side. We didn't do that earlier. That would have been an interesting thing to explore before we did all of that. I'm noticing for me, I just feel less stiff when I do this now than when I normally do. And then bring your big toes together, take your hips to your heels, just like a child's pose. And notice how the lower leg feels in particular here, since you just worked sort of next to the shin. But also bring attention to your breath again. Where do you feel it, and does it feel easeful or not? And then make your way up into tabletop. Just bend your right foot over to the right. So you're making that little kickstand with your right shin. And plant your right palm, extend your left leg back. Just keep your left foot down here. So you're on your right shin, left leg is back. And take your left arm by your ear. And just feel that length from the left fingertips to the outside of the left foot, and maybe you feel specific sensations on the outer upper leg or lower leg or the rib cage. And then just spin back through tabletop and change sides. Spin the left foot to the left, extend the right leg back, right arm by the ear. And just notice that same sensation from right fingertips to outer edge of the right foot. Do you feel spaciousness or openness or warmth? And then spin yourself back into tabletop. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, come to your first down dog, and just take some movement here. And you guys all practiced enough that you kind of know what your first down dog usually feels like. So notice, does this first down dog feel any different? And if so, in what way? And then just walk your feet forward to meet your hands. Come to a standing forward fold at the front of the mat. And just take some breaths there. So maybe you take ragdoll and reach for opposite elbows and sway. And then just release your hands to the mat. Take an inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Exhale, hands down to the heart. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift halfway. And exhale, just go straight to downward facing dog. Notice the sides of the rib cage here. Maybe even does that impact how the shoulders feel? And walk your feet forward to your hands. Forward fold at the top of the mat. Take an inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Exhale, hands to the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, step back to plank. On your inhale, drop your knees, modified plank. Exhale, lower to your belly. Inhale for cobra, lift head and shoulders. And exhale, lower everything down. Press through tabletop to downward facing dog. Maybe in this down dog, you bring attention to the legs, so the outer thigh where you use the balls, or the outer lower leg next to the shin. In yoga, we think a lot about the front and back of the body a lot, maybe not as much about the side. Walk your feet forward to your hands, forward fold front of the mat. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Exhale, hands to the heart. Close your eyes and just pause there. I'm going to take one more round of a sun salutation A, and as we do it, I want you to really bring awareness to the sides of the body in each shape. So just right here, notice how the sides of the body feel. And then your inhale, reach your arms up. Notice how the sensations change in the sides of the body. And then exhale, fold forward. Notice how things change. On your inhale, lengthen your chest. Feel the sides of the rib cage. And exhale, step back to plank. Notice how things feel there. Take an inhale in plank. Exhale, you can drop your knees lower to your belly. Inhale for cobra, feel the sides of the rib cage lengthen. And exhale, lower everything down, press through tabletop to downward facing dog. Notice the outside of the pinky finger all the way up to the lateral hip. And then from the lateral hip all the way down to the outside of the heels. Take one more breath there. And then walk your feet forward to your hands, forward fold top of the mat. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Exhale, hands to the heart. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, go straight to downward facing dog. On your inhale, take your right leg up and back. On the exhale, bring the foot between the hands, spin the back heel down. Come up into warrior two, cartwheel your arms up. Just notice how the lateral part of your back leg feels here. And the sides of the rib cage. And then bring your right forearm to your thigh, left arm by the ear, extended side angle, feeling left fingertips to outside of left foot. And make your way back up to your warrior two. Cartwheel your hands down to frame your front foot. You have time for a vinyasa, or you can step yourself straight back. Just a couple breaths in this down dog. And take your left leg up and back. Bring the foot between the hands, spin the back heel down, warrior two. And noticing the lateral part of your back leg, but even all the way up through that right hip up to the rib cage, do you feel this connectedness in the lateral side of the body? And then take your left forearm to your thigh, right arm by the ear, extended side angle. Then make your way back to warrior two. Cartwheel your hands down and make your way back to downward facing dog. Then take your right leg up and back again. Bring the foot between the hands, spin the back heel down and come into warrior two again. Brief or hold here just to get yourself settled. And then straighten your right leg, start to reach forward, hinge into triangle pose. Start with your left arm up towards the ceiling. Notice how that feels from the outer edge of the left foot up through the left hip. And then if you'd like to try it, left arm comes by the ear. Notice if that changes what that left side feels like. And then come back up to your warrior two. Cartwheel your hands down to frame your front foot and find your way to downward facing dog. Couple breaths in down dog. And then take your left leg up and back. Bring the foot between the hands, spin the back heel down, warrior two again, just to get your feet and your legs set. And then straighten the left leg, start to hinge forward, come into triangle pose. Reach the right arm up towards the ceiling to start. And then if you'd like, right arm by the ear. Come back up to warrior two. Cartwheel your hands down your way back to downward facing dog. Then walk your hands back to your feet, forward fold at the back of the mat. Take an inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. And exhale, bring your hands down to your heart. And then just take the palms of the hands to the low back, spin the fingers down towards the mat, and then draw the shoulder blades and the elbows towards each other. You can stay right there. You can start to lift the center of the chest like you're taking a little standing camel pose. Maybe the gaze goes towards the ceiling, or maybe the gaze stays forward if that feels better on the neck. Notice how the sides of the ribs feel. And then bring the torso back to neutral. Take the arms down by the sides. Take an inhale, reach the arms up, touch the palms overhead. And on the exhale, hinge from the hips, fold forward. Inhale, lift halfway. And exhale, downward facing dog. Take your right leg up and back. Bring the foot between the hands. Stay on the ball of the back foot this time and come up into crescent. Reach your arms by your ears. And notice how the left side of the body feels from left fingertips down through the torso, the outer hip, the outer leg, all the way to the heel. Keep your awareness on that left lateral line and then bring your hands to your heart. Lengthen your chest forward and pause there, keeping your focus on the left side. And then take a twist to the right. Take the upper left arm to the outer right thigh. Notice how that left side feels. Come back up to crescent, reach both arms up. Take your hands down, frame your foot, go straight to down dog. We're gonna go straight to the other side. So take your left leg up and back. Bring the foot between the hands and come up into crescent, reach your arms up. And this time, notice the whole right side of the body from fingertips all the way down to the heel. Keep that focus there as you bring your hands to your heart. And then lengthen your chest forward, pause, feel the right side of the body. And then take a twist to the left, upper right arm to outer left thigh. Ooh, that twist feels really nice. I feel really open after doing all that stuff. You have one more breath there. And then come back up to crescent, reach your arms up. Take your hands down to frame your front foot. You have time for a vinyasa or step straight back. And then walk your hands and your feet towards each other, forward fold at the center of the mat. You have a couple breaths here. Maybe you flip the palms up and take the hands under the feet, or maybe you hook peace sign fingers to big toes. And then release your hands. Take an inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. And exhale, bring your hands to your heart. And then hug your right knee towards your chest. You can take the hands behind the thigh or around the shin. If you want, your right peace sign fingers can come to the big toe, left hand to hip, and extend that leg forward. Just an option. If the knees bend, you can just hold the shin or the thigh. And then from there, if your leg is straight, change hands. So take left hand to right big toe. And then everyone twist your torso to the right, reach the right arm back behind you. So if the leg is bent, you can support the outer right thigh with the left hand. And then come back through center, reach the arms up, bend that leg if it's straight. And then just lower the foot, lower the arms, and give yourself a little shake out. And then changing sides, hug the left knee in, support the thigh or the shin. If you want, peace sign fingers to big toe, extend the leg. Notice the outside of the leg there. And then if the leg is straight, change hands, right hand to left big toe. Everyone twist the torso to the left and reach the left arm back behind you. Notice how the lateral side of your left leg feels, if you can even focus on that. There's a lot happening here. And then unwind, hands or arms by the ears, bend the knee, and then lower the foot, lower the arms, give yourself a little shake out. Whew. All right, back to mountain pose, right where you are. Close your eyes and just take a moment here. Notice the sides of the body. Notice the front and the back sides of the body. Do they feel different? On your next inhale, reach your arms up. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, last vinyasa opportunity or straight to downward facing dog. And then drop your knees, big toes together, child's pose. And make your way up through tabletop just so you can come back to seated. Once you're seated, extend your legs out in a straddle position. Reach your arms up by your ears. And then take a side bend to your right. So maybe the right hand comes to the shin. It can come in front of or behind the leg if that feels good. And then come through center, reach both arms up and take it to the other side. And then come back to center, reach both arms up and bring the fingertips in front of you. This time, if you'd like, you can walk it forward or you can stay upright, your choice. And maybe noticing the outside of the legs here, maybe not a place you think about usually in this shape. And then walk your hands back, lift your chest. Just take your legs in front of you and give them a little shake out. And then come to a comfortable cross-leg position. Just reach your right arm up by your ear, bend that elbow, and then take your left hand to your right elbow. We didn't do a lot with the shoulders specifically, but remember we did that myofascial release with the thumb and the sides of the rib cage. Just notice how that feels with your arm in the shape. Oh, I see someone taking a side bend. That's interesting. You can take a side bend to your left. Oh, that feels interesting. Thanks for the tip. And then re-extend the arms up. See, I learned something from watching you guys all the time. Bend the opposite elbow, reach for the elbow. Maybe you take that little side bend to the right. On this side, I don't like that so much. It's just enough to have my arm by the ear. Isn't that interesting? You have one more breath. And then just unwind that. Take some shoulder rolls. And just take your arms out to a T. Take your right arm over your left arm. Give yourself a hug, but at the same time, round the spine like you're taking a little cat pose. So we'll take that with breath. Inhale, take the arms out to a T, maybe lift the chest. Exhale, left arm over right, curl the spine back. Just continue with your breath here, inhaling arms to a T, exhaling, changing which arm is on top as you round. And then next time you take an exhale, on your next inhale, reach your arms by your ears. And then exhale, bring the hands down to the heart. Just release the hands, let them rest in your lap or on your knees. Close your eyes. Just take a couple breaths in stillness. Notice the face, the neck, the shoulders, the front of the chest. And then maybe keep your eyes closed and just really slowly take your time. Make your way onto your back. And once you land, hug your knees in towards your chest. And just pause there, knees hugged in. Drop your feet down to the mat, setting up for bridge. Take the arms by the sides and then press into the feet. Roll up into bridge and hold at the top. And notice what that feels like from the outer ankle up to the knee, from the knee to the outer hip, from the outer hip up to the armpit. And then lower the hips back down and pause. One more bridge pose, press into the feet, roll up, hold at the top. Lower the hips down, pause there, and keep the knees bent. Just walk your feet wider than the hips. Let the knees knock in towards each other and just hold that constructive rest. position. And hook your knees in towards your chest. Take your arms to a T and just drop your legs over to the right for a simple twist. Just noticing how the whole left side of the body feels in this twist. And bring your legs up through center, drop them to the other side. And draw the legs through center, hug them in, or maybe happy baby. You're in happy baby, hug your knees back in, give yourself a little hug. And then release and come into Shavasana. Start to deepen your breath. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Circle your ankles and wrists. Reach your arms by your ears, big stretch. Roll off to one side, pause there, eyes closed. Be the reason someone feels welcomed, seen, heard, valued, loved, and supported. Press into your top hand, make your way up to a comfortable seated position. Just rest your hands in your lap and close your eyes. And just like we started class, bring your focus back to your breath. Notice the quality and the texture of your breath. Bring attention to the movement you feel in the rib cage, front, back, side to side. And then bring your hands up to your heart. Take a little moment of gratitude for your practice. I hope you have a wonderful day. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.